YouTube Live, so whenever you're ready, we're good to go.
Thank you very much, Madam Administrator, and we're ready to start our afternoon session. We're back from recess. I just want to remind everybody on a couple of different things, or let them know a couple of different things. One, on the position counts in all of the agencies, I'm sending some specific questions out to all agencies to get how many positions in the budget are they asking for? How many are actually filled, and have they been approved to fill the vacancies? So I'm looking at a lot of those. If you have questions that you want asked from any agency, please let Madam Administrator know so that we can send those questions off, because if you have the question, you can count on the fact that another person on the committee will have a similar question. And it's better if we get the answers now, so that we're not trying to, find out at the end, because we're all going to have questions. And so first up, first, let me see if we have anybody that has anything. Senator Minor? Any questions or comments?
No comments, no questions at this point. Thank you.
Representative France?
Comments or questions so far? Thank you.
And do any of the members of the subcommittee have any comments or questions to start off? And I don't see Representative Walker back yet, but we're going to go ahead and start. And we have the military department up now. I know the general is on here somewhere, I do believe.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Hi, how are you, General? You're going to be all meetinged out today.
As will you, I'm sure, right?
Yes. So if you could introduce us to your staff that are that will be on the call today, that would be appropriate.
Sure. So they're all here around me, socially distanced and wearing masks, because our federal network doesn't allow Zoom, quite honestly. So I have with me many members of the team. So our legislative liaison is Major Eric Heinonen. Our JAG is Colonel Tim Tomshow. Our physical administrator is Mike Carriger, and our facilities maintenance manager is Colonel Matt Wilkinson. And I want to say thank you to Senator Austin, Senator Lesser, Representative Damasi, and members of the entire subcommittee. I'm told that we have submitted a testimony and that you've had a chance to review it, so we're prepared to answer any questions. I would just say real quickly that at the high water mark, we've had 1,000 service members, Army, Air, and Militia that have been working as part of the COVID relief effort that we sent down to DC and our nation's capital, our state capital, for infrastructure protection, in addition to tropical storms and snowstorms that looks like we have a mild one coming today. The budget, the governor's budget as proposed, postures our program fairly well. So the wartime service bonus, you'll see an increase there. That's due to the nearly 800 soldiers and airmen that will deploy this next year, beginning next month. We maintain funding for the military funeral honors, which is typically a sticking point to render distinguished honors to veterans, 3,500 funerals that we assist with per year. And then the military relief fund is also postured to assist those service members with any needs that they have that we administer on behalf of the state. So I guess I'll stop there and answer any questions if that helps.
So thank you very much, General. Can you let us know what you were doing for COVID while I'm waiting for some of my colleagues to roll on in? And colleagues, don't forget to raise your hand so you can ask the general questions. But can you let me know how many staff did you deploy around the state just the state proper, not down to Washington or on relation in any way related to other deployments that you had, but that were relative to COVID-19 responses, and how was that paid for?
Okay, so over the summer, we had, like I said, about 1,000 on. We currently have 600 that are deployed. We're doing everything from the PPE warehouse and administration. In New Britain, we have still ongoing nursing home inspections. We have about 150 at testing sites, and we're now pivoting towards the vaccination sites. We'll probably very shortly here be getting into, we're already at the rent at the Mass site, and any future sites, I know we're at the table, and we anticipate, again, that we will pivot from testing to vaccinations. Simultaneously to that, we've got 100 currently deployed overseas. We sent 300 down to the nation's capital for the inauguration, and we had 140 at our state capital around the same time frame for the inauguration. We've had engineering teams during the tropical storm this past summer that we deployed, and the big one is the infantry battalion out of New Haven, along with members of our Air Guard. That really is the bulk of the 800 that will deploy starting next month for the most part. I think you're on mute, Senator.
I know I was on. I put myself on mute because I had a couple of other Zoom calls going on at the same time, and it interferes with people hearing what you're saying. And I wanted to make sure that they could hear what you were saying. I apologize. How were the deployments paid for? Was that all with CARES Act funding? Or?
Yeah, it was all with us. It was federally funded, so to the tune of approximately 48 million to put our members, service members, on orders, federal orders. We call them 502 federal orders. So 100% federally reimbursable over both administrations, both previous president and the current president. At one point, we were at a 75-25 cost share. President Biden has retroactively went and changed that. So again, 48 million at 100% was all federal orders. So really not even an exchange of money through the state system. We put Eric Major Heinonen on orders, and he's paid through the federal system. So we're very lucky that even our daily operations, we have a $5 million, or actually I guess this year it's almost $6 million state budget that we use to administer the $300 million federal budget. So we really leverage the federal piece of our business.
Thank you very much, General. I see that Representative France has a question. He'll be followed by Representative Belinsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, General, to the Appropriations Committee. I just want one question that's read in your testimony, the success of the Military Family Relief Fund. I wonder if you could expand on that program, and then also what opportunities there are for people to want to support that and how they can support that program through contributions.
Absolutely, it's a great question. Thank you. So the Military Relief Fund, soldiers and airmen in need, service members in need, could be anything from if they're unemployed, they have a financial need. There's an application process that we administer, and traditionally, and I'm looking for my testimony, but traditionally, I believe through the checkoff box, through the combined federal campaign, is how citizens of Connecticut can help to continue to grow that fund or support service members in that light. If that answers the question. State income tax return, I'm sorry.
Thank you. It sounds very similar to the Navy Marine Corps Relief Fund that I was familiar with. It sounds very similar to that program and the opportunity for that. Are there ways for people to donate directly to that as opposed to just through the tax program or tax deduction?
As well, through probably the easiest way is through our Connecticut Military Department website.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Belinsky, followed by Senator Lesser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, General Yvonne. It's good to see you, and I wanted to just say thank you for your and Connecticut's Guard member service. Always, but especially during this pandemic. My question is simple and straightforward. We in Newtown we have the second company, Governor's Horse Guard. So I just want to ask that superficial question: are there any changes planned to the funding of the Honor Guard units in Connecticut?
So we have the second company, Governor's Horse Guard. We have a great relationship with them. It's actually one of our success stories. Senator Austin referenced some earlier testimony with the Veterans Affairs Committee. Our success, so the funding levels are maintained. The Friends of the Horse Guard in this case have also maintained their funding lines. And really the success story is that we have the stall rental program, thanks to the legislature, I guess 4 or 5 years ago now, that we have that unit on a path to self-sufficiency. So their ability to rent the horse stalls actually inherently increases the coffers for them, for the operational fund to maintain the unit, to maintain the horses and the upkeep of the building. We've last year, I think we actually opened up another paddock, another field. We redid a bridge that also helped not only the stall rental program, but the unit in giving them more space. And one of our future goals is to get an armory, in that area, so that we have a readiness center in each district of the state to react to any type of natural disasters, et cetera.
Great. Thank you very much, General. Newtown loves the Guard, and we'd love to be considered for your armory. So you have yourself a great day, and thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative. Senator Lesser, followed by Representative Hayes.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, General Yvonne. It's good to see you. And always good to have a constituent commanding our National Guard. Quick question, just in terms of the recent deployment related to the transition in Washington. Are we paying veteran service bonuses for guardsmen and women who are deployed, related to that?
So for the way the statute is written for the wartime service bonus is exactly that. So wartime service. So we are not paying bonuses, to my knowledge, for those that were deployed to DC. They were in a Title 10 status, so all the benefits that come along with that, they will get, depending on how long they were on, and most of our folks were just on for under a month. But as far as the wartime service bonus, they're not eligible for it. If that answers the question.
Yeah, yes, it does. Thank you. And are we waiting? Are there any expected state contributions to either Guard service, either in support of the state's COVID-19 response activities or for the transition related expenses, or is that entirely being borne by the federal government?
Yeah, so most of it's reimbursable from the federal government. We did spend state active duty to get the governor's militia early on to help set up the mobile field hospitals, but that I believe was reimbursed through CRF. And also any of the current expenses, I mean, we're all physically constrained. Our maintainers, because we really haven't shut down, our maintainers are working a lot of overtime, but our physical managers running all that through for reimbursement, through OEM and all the processes back to FEMA to get reimbursed.
Thank you. And one last question, Madam Chair, if I can, I noticed that there was a shift from DAS to the military department for your electric bill, and just want to make sure that you have the resources to pick that up, see if that's federally reimbursable when federalized, or how does that impact your budget?
No, so that's a request we have. So my understanding is there was a change in DAS on how the electric meters are run. So net total that we're requesting on that was $150,000 in addition to that. So that's a fairly recent change. when they broke the meters off of 165 Capitol. So, but that is the true state expense, will not be federally reimbursed.
Thank you, General.
Representative Hayes.
Thank you, Senator, and good afternoon, General. It's always an honor when you come to any of our committee meetings. My one question is, are your facilities planned, your new facilities that are planned, is specifically the one for the military police in the town of Putnam, are those still on schedule and they're still going to happen?
Absolutely. So I was briefed yesterday I think we were doing some environmental work. It's happened. It's definitely on schedule. We've already secured the bonding money thanks to the legislature, and we expect that to be on track. Our success with the air base, the front gate in up at the wing, actually due to, most things have been delayed through COVID, but our experience actually that the timelines actually quickened a little bit. So we hope to do the same thing with Putnam as well. But that's a great point, and we're looking forward to getting back there. As you know, sir, we had previously had an armory there. I think it's a great recruiting base for us, and also helps us cover that part of the state that typically gets hit with many power outages during a given natural disaster.
Thank you, General. Thank you for your service, and thank you, Senator Hamilton.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no more hands up, but I have one final question. Can you send for us the number of positions that you have that are state funded, the number of positions you have that are federally funded, and any vacancies that you have from the your account for personnel services?
We'll send that over. We have 117 state employees. We have 42 approved FTEs. Of the 117 state employees, all but 26. There's 26 true 100% state employees. The balance is some portion of federally reimbursed. Right now we have 5 vacancies. 4 are in the works. We and approved to fill. So we're going through the interview process. We had 1 financial clerk position, which I think is pretty telling for the times, where there were over 215 applicants. So our hiring manager is working through that right now. But 5 vacancies, 4 approved to fill. We're working on the last one. We do not see any problem with that at all. But we'll send that over formally.
Thank you very much. Representative Walker, do you have any questions?
No, Madam Chair, you seem to cover all the bases. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, General. We appreciate you coming today. And if we have any further questions, we'll send them over so that you can respond, and look forward to working with you during the session as we work on the budget.
No, thanks everyone for the entire committee for all your support. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So up next is the Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection. Commissioner, I thought I saw you coming up.
You did. Good
And so
afternoon,
I've been with you a lot in the last couple days.
virtually, yes.
Yep. So I'm wondering if you could introduce your team to us, and we could then start with asking questions.
That sounds great. Behind me is my executive assistant, Scott DeVico, who most people know, and also just came on, my director of fiscal services, Rosemary Preska. And I think we can answer a majority of your questions. And if not, we can get back to you with the answers in a timely manner for everyone.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Can you tell us how many staff you have, and then break it out with staff and sworn officers, and how many vacancies you have, and what the 3 classes will give us for staff?
Okay, so when we look at the budget, we include both civilian and sworn staff in there. Presently I have 1,585 folks, and the recommended for the 2022 is 1,575. That includes both my civilians and my troopers. Now, when we look at the troopers, I have 913 troopers today. We have some expected retirements coming in the near future, along with 3 classes that are stacked, 3 over 2 years. So when we move through those, if you want, we could really get into the nuts and bolts of everybody that's leaving and everybody that's coming in.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay. Presently, let's talk about the eligible to retire. As of today, we have 142 troopers that are eligible to retire, and they are tried out every month. As of July of 2021, we'll have an additional 58 troopers, and as July 1st of 2022, we'll have an additional 16 troopers. That is a total of 216 troopers that will trit out, and we're unsure about the number that will trit out. We estimate over 50% will trit out as of July 1st of 2022. That on top of the 913 presently we have. Keep in mind, please, that 50 or 60 of those troopers are always off on medical leave, administrative leave, military leave, or different types of leave, and they're really not operational, right? So as we launch into the biennium, there's actually 3 classes scheduled for the biennium. The first class, which is already in the academy, they're virtual at this time, has 121 recruits in there. We started with about 138. Some declined employment, which is not unusual. And we have 121 that are still in the academy virtually right now. And they started, they're about 5 weeks into it right now. We have 2 additional classes that are scheduled for a total effective for 255 vacancies over the biennium. And realistically, 3 classes is the most we could run at the academy anyway. So that's a good amount of troopers we're going to be running through the system.
Thank you. Senator Lesser, do you have questions, sir?
I do, but come back to me, please, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Representative Hayes, followed by Representative Walker.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Chief.
Just a couple of quick questions, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I see budgeted is some money for the training of troopers as far as the roadside detection of cannabis goes.
Yes.
First of all, could you talk about the training just a little bit for me?
Well, there's two levels of training for that one. The A-RIDE training and the more advanced training, which is the the DRE training. And that money set aside if the cannabis bill passes, which will allow us to train troopers at a rate of, I believe it's 38 for DRE training per year and 200 for A-RIDE. And that is probably the most we could do for each year. But that money is set aside for that training.
Thank you. And the troopers that are going off of this training, is that train-the-trainer, or is all 900 troopers going to be required to go through that specific training, and how long does it take?
I don't know how long it takes, Representative, but the 38 troopers for the DRE training, they are sent out of state actually for that training. So there's a backfill component to that. The A-ROD, we're hoping to train strictly at the academy. But keep in mind that even though the 913 troopers, we should only be training those who are first the road troopers out there. And then as we move towards completion of the road troopers.
Okay, but there's no train-the-trainer where your troopers can go out and then come back and train your staff?
Not for DRE training, but for A-RIDE there is.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Representatives. Representative Walker,
Thank you,
followed
Madam.
by Representative Belinsky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
Could you tell me how much money have you received so far from the CARES Act or the COVID dollars since we started?
It's on my desk, but I think, Rosemary, can you just help me with that?
Good afternoon. We have received just about $3.6 million.
3.6, and what was that used for, ma'am?
We use that money for PPE and sanitations or cleanings. We did a telecommuting project, which included laptop software and peripherals. Also, we did a mobile data terminal internet project, which included firewalls, maintenance, and encryption software and modem management for the laptops that are in the troopers' cars. We use that for some of that for overtime to support the testing centers and the warehouses. And lastly, and the smallest amount was for the hearing impaired interpreter for the governor's briefings.
Did you also receive any FEMA dollars?
Not yet, but we are putting together our costs and expenses, and we'll be creating some project worksheets and asking for that money. That's above and beyond this.
That, right, exactly. And the COVID dollars that you received those approximately March, April, May?
It came through at different spots. It started in April, I believe. And then we had other submissions for other requests as we identified them. So throughout the summer, I think, the last might have been in September, the last allotment.
Okay, and the most recent federal dollars that we received, are you slotted for any of the dollars that have been provided to Connecticut in December?
At this time, we were told that there aren't any, but we have submitted a request nonetheless.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you for that. Could you send that to us, to the Madam Administrator, so that we have it, please?
Just make a note.
Absolutely.
We will.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next up is Representative Belinsky. 1 minute, please, sir. I just want a clarifying question. You used COVID dollars to pay for the interpreter for those deaf and hard of hearing. Isn't that usually paid out of the governor's office?
No, ma'am. We usually pay that out of our agency funds when it's at the EOC.
Okay, thank you. Representative Belinsky, followed by Senator Lesser. Will you be ready then? Senator Lesser, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, how are you today?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Thank you. My question is around the programs and enforcement that are going to be necessary as we ramp up the legalization of recreational marijuana. Where in the budget, or is there a place in the budget where we have something dedicated to a mechanism to test for field sobriety? Depending on who you talk to on either side of this issue, the field sobriety question is either unresolved or not a worry. So I'd like to hear from you, what exactly is entailed in that, and will there be an investment in equipment and training that goes with that?
There is, Representative. It's in the policy revision section of the budget papers. It's provide funding for regulation of recreational use for cannabis. So it's right in there. It legalizes adult cannabis, 21 years of age or older, for spending. So we're talking about providing $1.1 million in fiscal year 22 and 23 to increase the number of troopers certified as drug recognition experts, trained in advanced roadside impairment. And it also includes an equipment function there goes with it, but that equipment function for roadside testing, that's still evolving.
So what is the procedure going to be for impairment testing? It's pretty straightforward for alcohol and DUI, but when we're talking about under the influence of something other than alcohol, what's the gold standard?
Well, the standard is, first of all, the detection, which is the A-RIDE standard, followed by the more in-depth field sobriety, which is the DRE standard. And the budget allows for training of up to 38 for DRE and up to 200 for A-RIDE training per fiscal year.
All right, thanks. I'd like to learn more about that system. If we could direct some information to our administrator for that. Thank you. One more question about under current services, funding for criminal history repository modernization. Is that 30-year-old system the reason why things like background checks are as backed up as they are in the state?
Well, it revolves around fingerprints and backgrounds. Yes, sir. That's scheduled to begin their beta testing mid-year, and I hope we can stick to that. But that will modernize electronic submission and of fingerprints, which will greatly increase the speed.
Terrific. All right. Well, that's something that people are going to be happy to hear about the investment in. We also have a little bit of an issue in the scheduling of photography for licensing, but that's I'm over my limit for questions. But I'll circle back later. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Senator Lesser, followed by Senator Minor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you through you to Commissioner Ravella. And I first want to thank Commissioner Ravella and his team for making themselves available recently for a conversation with area legislators concerned about the increase in car thefts in the greater Hartford area. So I just want to thank you for that, and you've been very generous with your time.
You're welcome.
Just following, I was having a little bit of trouble, and that was my difficulty earlier, just following where we are. I know you were talking about churning through as many recruits as the academy can process to make up the projected number of retirements over the next couple of years. But do you have a projection where we are right now versus where we are today for numbers of state troopers and where we project we will be at the end of the biennium? Sort of net, both projected retirements and recruits through the system.
Well, yes, sir. Today I have 913 troopers, and we project a 6 trooper loss every month. That's been our experience. So we've rounded those numbers. I have not included the new numbers for the classes, but with maximum exposure of 213 retirements, there's money in the budget to replace 215 in the proposed budget, 255 new troopers.
And you think you can get 255 through the academy? Is that something we can do with the that we have in the capacity in the academy?
That is probably the maximum we can do. For instance, this class is still at 121. We expect a yield of approximately 80 to 85 troopers from this one.
Great, thank you. And just so I understand, obviously COVID has affected all areas of life. I imagine it's changed some of the responsibilities for state troopers. That may be incorrect, I'm not sure. Have deployments or responsibilities changed in any respect? I don't know if traffic stops, for example, are still being conducted at the same frequency. I sort of an open-ended question. I'm just curious how the pandemic has affected the deployments of state troopers.
It hasn't affected the deployment, nor does it change their roles and responsibilities and their legal authority. You did mention traffic stops, and I think they're down almost 60% across the state. It's just a rough number, but we've seen that. But we expect those to start to increase.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome, sir.
Senator Minor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioner. My the first question anyway, focuses around what seems to be an uptick in violent crime. I don't know statistically whether that would be borne out, let's say, over the last year. But certainly, at least for many of my constituents, that seems to be linked with auto theft. And I'm wondering, in terms of this budget, was there any thought to how we might better position ourselves going into the future, and whether that, if it is a trend, is there any plan to kind of increase a presence in Hartford, New Haven, a couple of the other larger communities to try and make a difference?
Well, there's a lot there, Senator. Violent crime is on the uptick in most of your major cities in regards to number of people shot. But we haven't seen the uptick for other crimes. And you mentioned auto theft. Some auto theft is linked to violent crime. And we spent a lot of time with the four Waterbury, New Haven, Bridgeport, and Hartford chiefs talking about how we could help. For instance, Bridgeport asked for uniformed troopers to walk the beat, and we accommodated that. New Haven asked for a different package, which included investigation and troopers for traffic enforcement in and around the highway. And Hartford made the same request at their highest time. So we're poised to assist these cities when they ask for it. We reinvigorated the auto theft unit for the state police on a virtual platform rather than asking each major city for a donation of labor. We asked them, we're going to come into your city for a amount of time and work with you. That's been very successful. But again, I'm limited on the number of troopers I can devote just based on my numbers and financially. But it's something we're watching.
Okay, thank you. And the other, I think, goes to Representative Belinsky's point. The other thing that I've heard over the last year relative to COVID is the significant number of individuals that are waiting for credentials that would allow them to purchase handguns and long guns, that they seem to be kind of tied up within the agency. Some of that may be a backlog that is just going to have to be worked through. But I guess my question is, was there a request for any additional resources in an effort to eliminate that backlog so people that want to do this lawfully can do it lawfully without significant delay?
Yeah, there is. And that's managed it's managed weekly here in a backlog report. So it comes in many different areas. When you talk about fingerprints, we really centered on fingerprints for those to get people back to work. Our child care people, our DPH people, our bus drivers, our security guards, our Board of Education folks. We're really centered on moving those fingerprints through the system so those folks can get back to work. When we start talking about firearms sales, those are our DPS 3s, which are new sales and transfers of sales. Unfortunately, there is a backlog. It was reduced substantially last year and is now increased again. That unit is fully staffed. There's 15 civilians in there, 2 supervisors and the rest are clerks, and there's 15 troopers in there, 2 sergeants and 13 troopers. And they also take in those on light duty to try to reduce that. So we constantly manage that area. But I will tell you that probably due to the presidential election, sales of guns have increased substantially, right? We've seen an increase from 2020 from 2019 of, we're looking at 43,000 more guns that were sold. And we're also, that's a 33% increase. And then we're looking at pistol permits, new pistol permits, and that's a 20% increase from the previous year. And keeping in mind that DPS 3 should begin to be handled more efficiently. They also have a new software program that's expected to come on mid-year to move those much quicker. So it's constantly managed here by a lieutenant colonel and a major, and we've made adjustments along the way.
So thank you. Maybe we could have a conversation offline. My question was more specifically to the credentialing. I understand that firearm sales are up. They've been up year over year for many years, I think. But absent that, there are a number of my constituents that have been in the system waiting for their credentials, having completed courses in handgun as required by the state of Connecticut, only to have to wait for the permit. So maybe we could talk offline about what efforts the agencies put in place to try and move that backlog through as well.
Certainly, we could do that.
Thank you.
All set, Senator?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So I want to go back to personnel for a second. I have the numbers down for your line staff. I'd really like to talk about management, your command staff. Can you talk a little bit about your command staff, where you stand, and what is the plan to fill the vacancies that are in command staff?
Well, today we have one colonel and two lieutenant colonels. We had one retire. So we're interested in filling that position. I have 8 majors, no captains. I believe I have 12 lieutenants, and I'm down on both on the sergeant's level, under 100 on the sergeant's level, and obviously I've already talked about the troopers. There is a test scheduled for sergeants. There is a tentative test for the lieutenants coming up right afterwards, and there is followed by captains later on. So that should coincide with my trooper class coming out, and we're intent on filling those ranks because management is important.
No, I completely agree. In particular, in a paramilitary organization, we need the command staff to do the direction component of it. And I'd like to talk about staffing vis-a-vis specialty units, like major crimes and whatever other specialty units you may have. Where do you stand on staffing for specialty units?
Those specialty units across the board are down 20 to 25%. That's just it's a result of the times. We should have been hiring classes years and years ago, but we weren't to backfill. The main responsibility is to answer the calls for service in the troop level. So they're making their way through it. I wish I had more. And once those troopers come online, we'll certainly begin to backfill those specialty units.
And can you give us a list of specialty units that you have in, and do you have off the top of your head a number of specialty units so people can know what types of specialty units there are?
I will, Senator. As a matter of fact, I did send in this year was the staffing report that kind of walks through quite a few of the specialty units. But we provide a lot of services to the municipalities, right? So there's 3 major crime units, the East, the West, and the Central. And there are also the major crime units that sit in the different troop and levels. Not only do we handle murders and serious crimes in their area. They're also used by the state's attorney's office for officer-involved shootings, conflict of interest cases, or cases where the police department is smaller and needs services by the major crime unit, especially the evidence side of it. We have bomb units, arson units. We have emergency services units, also known as SWAT units. We have dive units. We have boat units. I'm going to miss a few. And I think the major is coming with a few now, but they're all listed in the staffing report that was filed in February.
So on the 20 to 25 percent loss of staffing, or not loss of, but not having staffing in those positions. I'm just curious, what kind of impact does that have on, say, major crimes?
Its impact, it's department wide, right? There should be more troopers. They should be less working. They're overworked. It's just the nature of where we are today. And it's a supply and demand. That's the simple equation here.
Thank you. And I have one more question on workers' comp, but I just want to let Representative Hall, she'll be up right after that. On workers' compensation, there was a decrease based on expenditures, actual expenditures. And I'm wondering, as we ramp up the number of staff we have in state police, will we see an increase in, is there projected to be an increase in workers' compensation?
I'd have to say yes to that. The more folks you put on the road, the more, obviously, the more injuries we're going to have, right? And you see that it's been transferred to DAS, and it's based on our experience over the last couple of years. And our experience over the last couple of years is the injuries and these compensation have been declining. But you see that in the budget that's been transferred to DAS.
Correct. And I know that there is a specialized section for hazardous duty workers' compensation. So I'm surprised it's going over to DAS based on the fact that you have generally higher workers' compensation cases than the generally the general fund budgets. So I am surprised about that. And when we get to DAS, I'll be asking them why they wanted to pull everything in under their umbrella. But I know that Representative Hall has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. Welcome, Commissioner. It's good to see you. My question is, and I'm asking because and I'm not encouraging this, but I just want to ask, are all the command staff and any additional staff that you're looking for, do they all come within the rank and file? Or are you able to pull from local municipal departments for command staff, or even for troopers for that matter? I don't know what the logistics of that are. So I'm curious if that's a possibility.
So what you're talking about is actually what we call a patch to patch transfer, right? Which is, it's provided by post regulations and standards. And as a result, well, it was always separate. CSP was always separate from post. But as a result of 2020-1, the Public Act, it actually gave post certification to state police. So that is possible. If we choose to try to do that, it is possible.
Okay, so it is possible to post, and looking for more of a lateral transfer type of thing. Is that, do you find that your department sees that a lot, or are you just not pursuing that avenue, or opening it up at all. And I ask because of your shortages and your retirements. So
We haven't opened up that avenue. This is only the very first time that this avenue's been available because of the Public Act. But you might make me very, very unpopular with the union and the police chiefs.
well, that's why I said I wasn't encouraging it. I was just asking for my own, I don't know if it's an option or not. And so it's a good question, but I didn't know if you had gone down that road yet or not. So, okay.
Yeah, it's just an interesting area for police chiefs who don't want to lose their personnel. And
I know they're struggling as well. So, yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Representative. So I remind my colleagues that you can still ask questions. We have a little bit more time left. Regarding the fire training schools, do you ever weigh in on the fire training schools or just pass along year to year the dollars from the previous year?
we pass those figures, we pass that money along, so we're a pass through. We do not get to weigh in on that. Those have been pretty consistent year after year in the budget.
And thank you for that. And I'm curious, we always talk about the state trooper side, the police side of your job, but you also have emergency services in there, and under the pandemic, your emergency services unit has been stood up a lot. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about who's in that not necessarily by name, but how many people are in the emergency services component of your budget? And have you received COVID dollars as a result of them standing up the work that they have been doing?
So their emergency management and homeland security, and their EOC has been stood up since March of last year. And it was fully staffed. I mean, we had people in and out of the EOC. We adjusted soon afterwards, and we kind of began to scatter them to the wind a little bit and went virtually with those folks. They're a busy group. I couldn't tell you how many are exactly in there. It's managed by a deputy commissioner, Regina Rush Kittle. It has his Director Hackett that takes the emergency management side, and they're short a few people that we've been trying to hire. So that is progressing. Everyone that's budgeted will be hired. They also have some of the areas include grant folks, and we're going to hire those folks. FEMA. So they're more eligible on the FEMA side, right? So we will actually apply for reimbursement. Most likely there's been some 100% reimbursement, and there's most likely 75-25 reimbursement, just like storms. But they're a great group. They handle all those storm reimbursements for all the municipalities and all those emergency management declarations that come out from the governor's office. And we're actually trying to get them a little help from the contractor side in regards to the financial side, because between COVID, Tropical Storm Isaias, and some other disasters, they're working through it. And they also work through the school infrastructure for security, and they have the $5 million they have to work through for interoperability. And they've just put out the $5 million opportunity for nonprofits and houses of worship, and that coincides with the federal side too. So they're working through that.
All right. So thank you for that, Commissioner. I'm curious on that, if you could get us the staffing numbers on that side of your house, and how many vacancies you have, and if those vacancies have been approved for filling. And if you could let us know on the FEMA grants, what kind of grants the grant unit is handling from FEMA to all the other ones. I'd like to have a better understanding of what grant dollars are traveling through that side of your house. And I know that Representative France has a couple of questions. Representative?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have maybe a couple of questions related to overtime and kind of that optimal level of staffing to, present an optimal amount of overtime. And in an organizational management standpoint, of course, as you hire a new trooper, there is the fringe cost. Whereas if you have a trooper working overtime, that fringe cost is already covered by, the first 30, 40 hours of the pay period. Have you looked at your overtime rates over time to see what the optimal number of troopers would be to kind of get to that sweet spot where we balance overtime versus total cost from a staffing perspective?
We have, when I first came on board 2 years ago, we looked at historical, and I know Rosemary just popped up. We've looked at a lot of historical data, and there was a lot of movement of troopers around. The historical data didn't tell me an awful lot. Being through this, this is now my second time through I would say a reduction in staff and a building back up. From Hartford, I did the same thing. We now developing some very consistent data. And when I mentioned supply and demand, that's what it's about. So we've seen when we dip under 900 troopers and we were at the 870 mark with 50 or 60 we couldn't use, we really saw 27 million in overtime costs and a little more than that, right? We're now seeing as that new trooper class came out of 73 new troopers and they're on the road. Now we're seeing with the temporary sergeants filling the hole, we're now seeing much more consistent data. The last couple of pay periods, which was very telling, really starts to put us down into the lower to mid 20s for overtime. So as the folks increase, I expect that overtime to decrease. So yeah, we look at this all the time.
So is there I said optimal trooper count, 942 or what, but based on the data where you, as I said, you balance that sweet spot of being able to respond, because if you have a workforce that has zero overtime, you have times of idle personnel in a manufacturing standpoint, similar for a troop force. But is there like that window of say 940 to 970 where based on historical trends that optimizes that overtime usage? Have you gotten to that kind of granularity in that analysis?
We have, and even in that staffing study that we put out in February, it really points towards having 1,000 troopers to be financially efficient. And that will put me in the lower 20s for overtime. I recommend 1,100 troopers, and OPM really paid attention to that as getting back to the things that we do in life and backfilling a lot of the different units. So that would also increase efficiency with overtime expenditures.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from colleagues? Representative Walker, do you have any specific questions? Senator Minor?
Not really. I'm going to wait for that longer conversation, I think, about credentialing. Thank you.
Okay. Representative France?
No, I'm all set. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner, did you put in for your vehicles an increase in vehicles as a result of the 3 additional classes and obviously an increase in uniforms and weapons and other things?
The classes are configured with OE money for equipment and uniforms. They're and the cars were at approximately 128 cars to come in. So 180 cars should do it. especially when you have troopers that are treating out and retiring.
All righty. Thank you. Well, Commissioner, I think that you might have gotten all questions done early this time because I don't see any more hands up, and I think you did a great job.
Thank
And
you.
I want to thank you for your time and attention to us. And we will have working groups, of course, set up, and we may delve into a few more things on a more comprehensive basis. So just want to
I'm
say
look-
thank you.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to it, and thank everyone. And I'll follow up. I know Scott wrote a laundry list of follow-up questions, and I'll get you the information, and we'll have that call, Senator Minor.
He said thank you. And then I still have that one case in Sprague that I'm looking for you to catch
I
that
know.
person. I'm going to bring it up every single time I see you. So
All right.
I got to answer the family.
All right. Everybody drive safely out there.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Bye-bye now.
So we have up next, Madam Administrator. We have up next I think it's the insurance department that's next.
That's correct.
Are they
Madam
here
Chair?
yet?
Nope, they are not here yet.
Oh, my.
A little
So we
early
have-
for them.
It's a little early for them, yes.
Coffee break.
We might have a little bit of a break here for 29 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, and if you want to come back in 29 minutes. Madam Administrator, did you catch all those additional questions that we talked about during the morning and now?
I believe the OFA analysts are capturing them for us, Madam Chair.
That's wonderful. And we will have this afternoon, we still have the insurance department, the workers' compensation commissioner, and the Department of Banking this afternoon. And we do, just so everybody knows, we do have a public hearing, and that public hearing has one person attending it. One person attending it. So we're going to recess now for 28 minutes. We'll come back at 2:30.
So I ask that everyone mute themselves because we're going to stay on YouTube Live. It's just easier. And I will put up a notice that says we're in recess.
Thank you very much, Madam Administrator. Hello, Madam Administrator.
Well, Madam Chair, the
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. The insurance team is in, so we just want to wait until everybody else comes back on with us. I think we'll be ready to go.
Did DMV come today?
No, their transportation, they're next Friday.
Oh, okay. Because I noticed them, where they are in the book is kind of funny.
Yeah,
And I said, did we have DMV come? And I didn't even know. Thought I was running the meeting. Oh my God, what happened?
all right, remember, we're on YouTube.
I know.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
was
could you
being
guys
polite.
keep it down a little bit? We're trying to take a nap while you're waiting.
Just remember, you're on YouTube, Representative Ryan.
Senator Austin, I literally have a sleeping infant in my arms right now, so I want to
Oh.
You do?
echo Representative Ryan's urge that we all keep our voices down.
Is he in your arms right now? Oh, he's beautiful.
Oh.
We'll try to be quiet. I'm not guaranteeing it. I'm just letting you know,
Seriously,
most
Matt's not going to
babies,
keep him awake. Nobody is, seriously.
I'm just letting you know, babies sleep through anything sometimes. Some babies can sleep through anything and some babies wake up at the drop of a dime.
Well, I know he was particularly interested in hearing Commissioner Mace's testimony, so that's why he's here. We're riveted by it.
Thank you so much, Senator. I'm looking forward to making sure that he has a deep and restful sleep.
Commissioner, just so you know, I have to wait till 2:30 because I had everybody out until 2:30. So I want to make sure that people get back.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Craig Minor, are you back yet? I want to ask him how much snow he has.
I think we're actually supposed to get more than him.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Huh.
We
Do you have
got
a,
quite
is it snowing out at your house already?
Oh, yeah, it's been snowing for a while.
It started snowing in Putnam only about 10 minutes ago.
Started snowing about an hour ago here, but it's really only about a quarter of an inch, maybe a half an inch.
Okay, I turned around again and it's now not snowing.
The other side of the river, it's snowing, and we got about 4 or 5 inches. So
You have 4 or 5 inches at your house?
Seriously?
Yep.
Really? Huh. Montville and Sprague, less than you. Amazing.
usually it's the other way around.
Exactly. It must be closer to the shore. Feel like counting down. 10, 9, 8.
We'll just have one for this evening.
Huh?
I think you had asked a question earlier about how many people were signed up for tonight.
Yeah, only one.
Well, now the possibility of a second, a legislator has asked if he may testify tonight. So I was going to run that by you.
All right. All right.
What's the rule on that?
What do you mean? It's 2:30 now, so we'll start. I don't know what rule you're talking about. Is there a new rule that I don't know about?
I think there was a 3 o'clock rule.
That's correct, sir.
But is it 3 o'clock today or 3 o'clock yesterday?
3 o'clock yesterday.
Just want to make sure we all knew the rule existed.
Yes, sir.
I know you know the rules better than anybody, Craig.
Not me.
Yes, you. Okay, everybody, I'm hoping you're back from recess. And we're gonna restart the Appropriations Committee hearing. And Commissioner, thank you very much for coming. We have the Insurance Department here. For those of you tuning in from home. Commissioner, if you could please, you don't need to read your testimony. We're starting a new process with asking questions, but first, if you could introduce your team that's here with you, we would appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator, and I appreciate the opportunity to submit the testimony that you've already received on behalf of the department for the recommended budget for fiscal years 2022 and 2023. I'm Andrew Mays. I'm the Insurance Department Commissioner, and I have with me 3 staff members: our General Counsel, Jared Koski, the Fiscal Administrative Supervisor, Ann Wozniakaitis, and I'm always having trouble with Ann's name, sorry, and our Director of Legislative Affairs, Lady Mendoza. You know, we're happy to answer any questions that you have. I do want, as I always do have to mention for anyone that's new that the department's budget is comprised of appropriations from the state's insurance fund, and that's funded through assessments on our domestic insurance industry. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And first up is Senator Lesser.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you, thank you to Commissioner Mace for all you do at the Insurance Department as the co-chair of the Insurance Committee. It's been a pleasure to work with you and your team there, and I'm grateful to see you up there right now. Just a few questions, or a couple questions through the chair to you. What is the current staffing situation? My understanding is that there are a number of senior staff at the Insurance Department that are scheduled to retire in the near term, and I was wondering how this budget responds to that retirement cliff.
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Senator, because that is an issue throughout the industry and with all regulators. That was a concern that was raised at our last accreditation. We were recently reaccredited, but we are looking at that surge of retirements, and we do have a concern that we need to replace the people that we're losing. Connecticut is the top insurance regulator in this country. And I would say in the world, we've got an excellent staff. We've got great institutional knowledge, and we need to make sure that we don't lose it. Right now, and I know Ann is on the line and can give you the exact numbers, but we're at, our authorized staff is 151. I think we've got 150 positions filled going forward. We have somewhere between 5 to 7 vacant right now, and Ann can fill me in on that. You know, part of what we did when I started was we immediately got together. We recognized the concerns that the retirement wave would have on the department, and we started updating the transition plans. It's a little difficult for a department such as ours, which is a high-scale department where it takes a tremendous amount of time to train people. If we bring somebody in from industry, say, and this is somebody who has a basic understanding of what we're doing, it still takes about a year to bring them up to speed, so before they're able to actually do the analysis that's required for the most basic accounts. So we have to plan ahead. And with that, I will turn it over to Ann in terms of the numbers. Was I correct on the numbers, Ann?
Yes, you were. The current staffing levels was 151 positions. I know in this upcoming budget, we are losing 1 position, which is our HR, because we are currently going through the centralization of our HR functions. So we'll be down to a position count of 150. We currently have 5 vacancies that we are in the process of filling. Let me just see. We have 3 of those positions are currently posted and 2 of them will be posting soon.
Thank you. Does that answer the question, Senator?
I think so. I guess through the chair, I just want to clarify that the current budget allows you to provide at least stopgap staffing as you work through the transition. You know, does it allow that, or is there additional support that you need? And I will say for as an aside that I've heard concerns from the insurance industry who you regulate that they want to make sure that you're adequately staffing, that they see that as a net plus.
And I understand those concerns. That's why they're here. You know, if you look at what we've done in the past, I'd say, looking back at the numbers, it couldn't go back more than 10 years or so. We've gone from a staff of about 183 to 150, 151. So there has been a loss. And if that keeps happening, then we won't retain our status as a primary regulator, which means that the insurance companies won't want to be here. Everything else aside, they're here and they're the ones that are paying the bill for us, because what we do is we enable them to innovate and we can protect consumers while they innovate. It's a win-win for everybody. I know the industry is concerned with what's happening. I've expressed my own concerns, and I think we've had from the governor's office certainly an understanding of those concerns. We are working together to transform the department into the department of the future. You know, what an actuary used to do 10 years ago, they don't do now. It's completely different skill sets that we will need going forward. Data scientists, for instance. So the short answer is, the current budget will enable us to continue to fulfill our obligations, both regulating industry and protecting consumers. And we are continuing to work on the plan that will take us into the future.
Thank you. And if I could, one more question. I've taken up a lot of the committee's time. The governor has proposed a couple of big bills, one about captive insurance, another the Covered Connecticut program. Does your budget assume passage of either of those or any other legislation that's pending before the legislature, or would you need additional resources to implement?
For the captive program, no, because what we're actually doing is repurposing the people within the department. Till those vacant positions are going to the captive department. And again, Anne, please feel free to jump in. The assessment, that was done, that's reasonably new. And frankly, the way I see that working is similar to other assessments, where our involvement would be minimal and at the back end.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the large amount of time.
Thank you, Senator.
Representative France.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner, for coming to answer the questions and governor's budget. So one question related to the shared office space and the reduction in the rent amount. Certainly understand that your share of that cost will go down, but there's an overall reduction in that line item of almost $70,000. Was there a reduction in the rent per square foot for the space that accounted for that, or what was the rationale for that, the overall reduction in the cost of the space?
Let me turn the details of that over to Anne. So far as, and I will tell you from my side, what I knew was that what we were trying to do was essentially save the state money. We're going to bring in OHA, and so far it's, before the COVID pandemic, of course, but it had been working well. We do think it will continue to work well. In terms of the numbers, let me just ask Anne what the budget reflects.
The current decrease that was expressed for our rent cost is kind of going to be offset with the increase in the Office of the Healthcare's OE budget, in that they will be paying 10.5% through an MOU to compensate for their use of the office space. So while OHA is not going to pay a separate rent, they are still going to contribute to our rent and our expenses for our office space, and basically reduce the redundancy of rent payments.
Okay, as it appears from the budget that there was an overall reduction in the cost of the space. I don't know if you reduced footprint or if that's somehow captured somewhere else, where that it reduced in this line item, but it's going to show up somewhere else.
I can tell you we did not reduce footprints, Representative. The footprint that remains the same. And what I can do is I can get back to you with more detail. We can have Ann simply review that and check with our OPM analyst and get back to you with a more detailed response. Would that be
That'd
acceptable?
be great. If they could bring it to the work session, that'd be great. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Representative. Commissioner, I'd like to go to a different kind of insurance. My understanding is that your department handles bail bondsmen in some way.
Yes, we do. And
I was quite surprised, quite frankly.
as was I when I joined the department. But this is where, if you have a question on bail bonds, I think Jared would be the perfect person to answer those. I'm presuming Jared is on the line.
Yes, Commissioner, I am.
Thank you.
Hi, Jared. How does that happen that you would be ultimately responsible for, in essence, 50% of the responsibility of bail bondsmen? And I'm assuming DESP is responsible for the other 50%, give or take. The percentage might not be exactly across the board.
Yeah, I don't know the percentage between the two of us combined, but yeah, our role is to register and oversee the bail bondsmen, the industry, and provide guidance on the registration of them. The history I predates me as to how that came about with regards to the insurance department. I'd be happy to get that answer for you from my senior attorney on my staff, who's responsible for that aspect of what we do, if that's what you're looking for, how it came to us. But yes, it is sort of in combination between our agency and theirs, and we're more so responsible for the registration and licensure of them.
And they're more responsible for the oversight? More of a question?
Yes, correct. So more so, I would say, with regards to the actions of the bail bondsmen themselves. We are the licensure, registration, and filing of them.
Of all bail bondsmen in the state?
Correct.
I just find that fascinating that the insurance department would be responsible for bail bondsmen, and it really even more is unclear to me why you would handle the registration and licensure of bail bondsmen, but I'm certain there's a historical reason there. I would like to know that.
I echo Commissioner Mays' surprise when I came on board as well with regards to that. And I can, if you're interested, I can get that history for you.
That would be great. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So colleagues, do you have any questions? Senator Minor, any questions?
Not at this time. Thank
I see Senator Lesser has a couple of more questions. Senator Lesser.
Madam Chair, I actually don't have a question. I'll just point out that I've had the same question you had about bail bondsmen, and at times I've threatened the Department of Banking, who we're going to hear from next, that we're going to move the department over to them if they don't act. But that's a joke. It's not serious. But I've had the same question. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative France. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any more questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any of the subcommittee chairs or members have any specific questions?
Madam Chair.
You said yes, you did, Mike?
All set. No, all set.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All set as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. All righty, it looks like, Commissioner, I think you're all set. And I look forward to reading the history of how you got bail bondsmen.
And if you can figure out where we go next, as Senator Lesser mentioned, I would appreciate it.
I don't see why we divide the responsibilities up, and they should all be in one spot. But we'll see. It's a question.
Yes.
All right, thanks. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming with your staff. We really appreciate it. We'll see you at the working group if we have any other questions.
Thank you. Goodbye now.
Bye-bye. Madam Administrator?
Chairman Morelli is in the waiting room, but his team is not.
All right, so we can wait 10 minutes. His team probably will be on in that time frame. So we'll recess for 10 minutes. Madam Administrator?
We are ready when you are.
Madam Administrator, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have my ears in. No, can you hear? I can hear you now, I think.
Great, we're ready to go when you are.
All righty. So we're coming back off of recess now with Workers' Compensation Commissioner, Commission and the Commissioner. Commissioner Morelli? I can't hear you. I can't see you either. We can't hear you yet. Madam Administrator, can you let him know we can't hear him?
Let me send an email very quickly.
He's signing in and out, but it doesn't, or he's going off mute, on mute. He's off mute right now, but we're not hearing him. He may need to sign out and sign back in if he can hear us. He might be back in the waiting room, Madam Administrator.
I just admitted him.
There he is. Okay, great. I'm wondering if you're in the waiting room too long, whether that does that. Commissioner, can we hear you now? We still don't hear him. Commissioner, we can't hear you. I'm wondering, are there any other staff on for the Workers' Compensation Commission?
No, they may all be together because I didn't see anyone else.
Oh, okay, Vinny. I don't have it then.
Let me. Madam Chair, one of the staff people is using the link instead. They're going to try that.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Rich Amy from the Workers' Compensation Commission. Do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
We were all supposed to be together, but we're having some issues. Chairman Morelli is running to his office right now and is going to hop on from there.
Okay. Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, Senator Austin, I'm hoping you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Thank you,
apologize.
Commissioner. That's all
I
right. Go ahead.
apologize for this. Thank you, Senator Austin and Appropriations Committee, for your time today. I'm Stephen Morelli. I'm the chairman of the Connecticut Workers' Compensation Commission. I'm here together with my fiscal administrative manager, Virginia Alling, and my legislative program manager, Richard Amy. And happy to answer whatever questions the committee has for me.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, I was on mute. Does anybody have any questions for the commissioner? Commissioner, are there trends in workers' compensation that we should be aware of this year? And Senator Minor will be up right after that.
Well, this year was as I'm sure you're all aware, somewhat of a unique year for workers' compensation, as it was for every agency in the state of Connecticut. Obviously, prior to 2020, there was no such thing as a COVID claim. That was something we had to adapt to. And I would like to, at this point, acknowledge that and praise the commission, because I asked an awful lot of them. In response to the pandemic, we closed our doors for 2 days and then resumed full capacity doing hearings telephonically in 2020, back in March. And I can tell you that as a point of reference, in 2019, we did just over 51,000 hearings as a commission. And in 2020, I'm proud to say we've done just over 47,000 hearings as a commission. So we really didn't miss a beat. And part of that drop off could most likely be attributed to the fact that, unfortunately, there were less people working in 2020. I don't know if that.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you, Commissioner. Senator Minor, followed by Representative DeMassa.
Thank you. So kind of in the same general area, I've served on the Labor Committee. I don't currently, but I have over the last 2 terms at least. And I remember almost consistently there being concerns raised before the committee about the timeliness or untimeliness of adjudication of workers' comp claims. And so the numbers that you just gave, Senator Austin, seem to indicate about 4,000 fewer hearings. Does that mean there's no longer a backlog, or are we accumulating a backlog that we haven't been able to handle because of the COVID framework?
I would say that there is not a backlog, and there has, from my experience, never been a backlog. The goal of the Workers' Compensation Commission is to have time to first hearing, once a initial hearing request is made, of 28 days or less. And we are similar to 2019, where we were roughly 23 days to first hearing. We are currently 23 days to first hearing.
Okay.
Let me just say this: if there is a backlog, the backlog would be potentially some of the formal hearings, which are our administrative trials. And that is a function of, we opened up to in-person formals in August, but then when the virus picked back up again, and I thought it became a little too dangerous, we went back to doing those on Teams. Not all formals are conducive to Teams. So if there's a backlog, that would be the area, but I don't believe it's anything that we can't deal with in short order once we're back up and running in person at the districts.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe you know the answer to this question then. Are you planning, I mean, the positivity rate is down below 2. That's a newer situation, but I think it was back at about the same level back in October. Do you imagine when you will be back open, so to speak, or will you do the formal hearings via technology?
I'm going to be, and this is largely due to loyalty to my staff, who, as I said previously, I asked an awful lot of them to continue to report to work early on in the pandemic, as we were adapting to using technology. Like I said, we literally had a 2-day pause and then picked right back up. I asked an awful lot of them, so I'm going to be extremely careful with integrating the public back into the offices while we still have the protection of the governor's executive order. But for the governor's executive order, we would have to open all our district office doors to the public, and that's because of the statutory filing deadlines that the executive order waives. So with saying that, the commissioners in person, if they have any emergent hearings or any hearings that can't be done or aren't conducive to being done by teams. So, you know, if a hearing is absolutely required right now, and what I mean by that is a formal hearing, it can be done in person. We have purchased plexiglass and taken other safety measures to make that as safe as possible for our staff and commissioners.
I don't know if that was my 2 questions, Madam Chairman, but I did want to kind of follow up on your COVID question. Given the fact that that was not even something people understood a year and a half ago, do you imagine that the staffing you have in the budget will be sufficient to handle whatever claims may be coming as a result of the COVID virus?
I do. The numbers that we've seen, the difference between 2020 and 2019, there has not been a dramatic number of, I think there's roughly 2,300 COVID claims that have been brought to the commission. And our staffing has been pretty much level for the last 10 years. Our numbers in terms of first, time to first hearing have also been pretty consistent through those 10 years. So at this point, with the caveat that, like everybody else, none of us can truly predict which way this pandemic may still turn. But as we sit here now, I don't see any reason why we won't be able to handle the volume that we are currently seeing, and absent some dramatic change, won't be able to continue to handle the volume as we go forward.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Representative DeMassa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Minor kind of tiptoed on my questions. Can you provide to this committee, I guess, some of the data you have on the number of claimants and kind of where they are in the process as far as the days that have lapsed, and maybe also maybe the data for the ones that have administrative trials?
Are you talking about all claims, or are you referencing COVID claims?
I'd like to see all claims. I mean, if you want to break out the two, that's fine. If you can, if not, I'll take the overall data, and obviously the administrator for Approps will take it and disseminate it to the committee. And then out of the 117, how many positions do you have vacant in your?
We currently have 103 positions filled. We are in the process of filling 6 additional positions that would take us to 109. And we have another position, our HR manager, who is we're in the process of that being transitioned to the DAS Smart Unit. And then we have 7 positions that have been funded, but we used those 7 positions as part of our achievement of the 10% reduction.
Then my last question off of that, you lined it up perfectly for me, Commissioner. the reductions, do you have any concerns in the proposed reductions as far as being able to handle the value of claimants in a timely fashion?
No, I don't. And, you know, I would say like many agencies, you know, we've gotten leaner and leaner over the years, bearing in mind that my history as chairman goes back to May of 2018. But looking back at the commission over a number of years, there was a time when the commission had 196 employees. We've been running consistently in the same area we are now for about the last 10 years. And we've been functioning at a very high level. We continue to function at a high level. We've managed to do that throughout 2020 with significant numbers of our workers working from home. We were rotating, you know, to keep up with the requirements of the go back to work plans that we had to submit. So I don't see any problem, barring, you know, something occurring that is unforeseen. I don't see any problem with being able to manage our volume of business.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions for the Commissioner? We have his written testimony already, and we tested his skills on technology. We are really happy that we were able to get in. So, you know, we're very happy to see you. We may have a few questions at the workshop for you, sir. But if not, we think that you're doing a very good job over in workers' compensation and appreciate the work you do. Any other questions?
Well, I thank you very much for those comments.
Anytime, Commissioner. Representative France, anything? I don't see him.
I'm all set.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Damas asked a question. Representative Hayes, are you all set?
I am all set, Madam Chair. Thank you.
You're welcome. So Commissioner, I think we're all set. Thank you so much for coming today. We really appreciate it. And if we have any questions, we'll see you in the workshops. But I hope that you're having a safe day today. No traveling.
And same to all of you. And I thank you for your time and your attention. Thank you.
Madam Administrator, are the next people here already?
No, Madam Chair, have not seen the Department of Banking team yet.
As soon as they come on, we'll start up. So we won't go on recess. We'll just hold in abeyance until they show up in the waiting room. Madam Administrator, are we all set?
I would like to check with the Department of Banking team. I'm in the process of sending them an email, so if we could wait just a few moments more.
Okay. Madam Administrator, anybody there yet?
Yeah, New York saying that
Whole team is there now, Madam Chair, so we've just admitted them.
So we're up to the Department of Banking. I believe that the Department of Banking is holding everybody on. If the commissioner wants to let us know who is here, that would be great.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is George Perez. I'm the banking commissioner. And with me today will be Matt Smith, who's my government relations person, and Jacqueline Shirley, who's my business manager person.
Well, it's very nice seeing you, Commissioner. You're our last agency for today. And we appreciate you coming on. Does Senator Minor, do you have any questions for the banking commissioner?
Not at this time, thank you.
Representative France.
I'm all set at this time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Damassa.
I am surprisingly all set, Madam Chair.
Oh, I was counting on you for some questions. Is Representative Walker on? No, I don't see anybody. Representative Hayes, do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, I'll make it unanimous. I'm all set.
Oh, my goodness. So Commissioner, I'm just going to ask a couple of quick questions. In regards to staffing, are you fully staffed or do you have some vacancies?
At the current time, I have one vacancy.
And has it been
But
authorized
remember,
that
we're a small agency.
Yes, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm wondering, have you been
so-
authorized to fill that vacancy?
Yes, no, we're in the process of doing that. I should not have an issue. I should not have a problem getting it authorized, but there's some modifications that's going to happen to the job description. Because as we move forward and the industry changes and cybersecurity becomes a bigger issue, the person we hire, the set of skills is going to be a little different.
In regards to COVID, did you have any COVID expenditures or did you get any COVID dollars to assist your agency make it through
We
this?
did not ask for any COVID dollars and we did not receive any COVID dollars. Yes, we did have some minor expenditures. We did have an employee who came in who later on tested positive and we had to pay for extra cleaning, but nothing major.
Oh, okay. Senator Minor, I see you have a question.
Thank you. So understanding that the governor has proposed the legalization of recreational marijuana in the state of Connecticut, what do you envision in terms of the responsibility of the Department of Banking to be sure that deposits don't run afoul of any federal rules or state rules?
I could definitely control the state rules. The federal rules, they have become a little more clear recently, but there's still a lot of room left. To a lot of people's surprise, we have been banking marijuana money for several years because medical marijuana has been legal in Connecticut. But each institution has been doing that, at its own risk per se, right? And what we make sure is that they have a strong Bank Secrecy Act program in place of keeping track of where the money's coming from, who the entities are, the background check on the owners of the companies. So we expect that once the federal government gets its act together and realize that this is here to stay, and they give us more guidance, that what we have put in place, along with the other states, because we've done this as a team, should more than comply with anything that the federal government should come up with. I do not foresee any issues with if marijuana becomes legal with the banking industry. There are institutions right now who are banking marijuana money.
Senator Minor?
And in terms of the staffing required to see that they are in compliance with whatever rules there are in place, that new business will not require any additional staff?
it's going to require a lot of additional staff for the institutions, right? In order to meet the criteria for the Bank Secrecy Act and the other restrictions that will be put on from a regulatory perspective around making sure the money is legal and you could trace it. From the banking department, at this point, I do not foresee any major burden on the department. And as some of those institutions merge, we are able to handle so far, we've been able to handle it without any issues. That may change, if all 60 something of my institutions start banking it, right? And issues develop. But at this moment, I feel comfortable that we should be able to handle the workload. Because remember, the Bank Secrecy Act is not something new that we regulate. There may be some additional testing we may have to do, but I don't expect it to be a big burden. But to be honest with you, it's new, right? Right now I have 3 or 4 institutions that are doing it, and we're handling fine.
So Madam Chair, if I could just try to dig into that a little bit deeper.
Please go ahead, sir.
So if there are 3 or 4 institutions across the state and a proposal to perhaps license as many as 60 growers, some of whom may be currently licensed under the medical marijuana program, but I think we heard today in some testimony that there will be many new licensees. I can only imagine that the banking involved with all of those facilities and all of that cash requires a fair amount of monitoring. I mean, has it been your experience that purchases are done on credit cards, or is it all? What kind of
cash?
Pardon?
Cash.
All right, so it's all cash. So
armored trucks, black SUVs show up to a bank with a lot of money with people with guns.
And so in terms of the agency, the Department of Banking, the review of that is what? Whether they meet certain compliance thresholds?
Correct. Like, for instance, do you know who's the owner of that facility? Do we know, do you look at the records to make sure the money's coming from the sale of that product and not that somebody's laundering money, right? Do you do background checks on the owners? That kind of stuff is what we're more interested in, the laundering of the money and the source, making sure that it's coming from the facility. We have nothing to do with the licensing of the facilities.
Right. And so as we move from a highly regulated medical marijuana system to a perhaps less, I don't mean this in a negative way, a less regulated, meaning that it's anyone in the public can purchase over a certain age, theoretically, that to your mind doesn't present any more of a burden to the agency.
At this moment, no. I'm sorry.
To see that the banks are actually going through the same due diligence for each of them as they did for the medical marijuana participants.
At this moment, no, because it hasn't happened, right? But remember, with all due respect, and I don't want anybody to take any offense on what I'm about to say, what's going to impact this more is what the federal government does, right? That's because the fact that the state legalizes marijuana, it is the federal law that are going to more dictate how banking gets impacted. And technically, I mean, I know there was a change, and they changed it from one category to another. But like a year and a half ago, it was illegal, right? Under federal law. Now it's not illegal anymore, but you got to follow some particular procedures. And we expect that as more states legalize it and as more legislators in the federal level realizes that this is something that with the times, it's not going to go away, right? And those laws become more clear, there may be an impact, sir. But I don't know at this point. I don't expect it, at least not in this next year,
Right, but so this is a 2-year budget, so that's the reason for my question. We don't expect that this program will be fully in place in 6 months. What we expect is that there'll be a rollout if approved, and that it could impact the second year of your budget, yet the personnel involved are still the same. So I guess what I'm hearing you say is, based on what we know today, you don't expect an impact. But if there is an impact, then you'd have to adjust accordingly in a subsequent year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You said it more eloquent than I did.
He often speaks more eloquently than many of us. Representative DeMassa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I think we got to where I was going to head with the commissioner. Just off Senator Minor's questioning. My assumptions, Commissioner, I think we've gotten to this point, is that obviously as regulations change at the federal level and credit cards and other devices can be used for this industry, it probably would actually make your life and the life of the financial institutions a lot easier.
Correct. Actually, the more electronic they could use, yes. So I actually don't expect the burden to be much worse, but I don't have a crystal ball, right?
No, absolutely. But hopefully, you know, if anything, as you move away from cash and you go to those methods, it's actually going to get easier for all parties considered to verify a lot of these transactions than it is now.
And it's more easy to use armored trucks, who they also have to go through the process of identifying the customers and so forth, versus, you know, any given day, you know, 3 or 4 trucks show up, right? And only one has the money and 4 or 5 people come out with guns, you know?
No, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Colleagues, do you have any other questions for the banking department or the commissioner? Well, Commissioner, I know that it was hard for you to get on our technology today. I apologize for that. We only needed a few minutes of your time today. I want to thank you very much for coming and giving us the information that we needed. And we will have working groups. Look forward to having you on the working group, and I look forward to talking with you soon.
And as always, if we could be of any help, if any questions pop up, do not hesitate to send them over through Matt, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. So colleagues, we are now going to end the agency briefings for today and only today. So we will be signing off here. We do have a public hearing at 5 o'clock. We have a 1 or maybe 2 people speaking, and that's it. So it probably won't take us long. Please sign on right at 5 so that we can move that along. So
Madam
thank you
Chair?
very much. Yes, Madam Administrator.
I have an update. We're back to 1.
Oh, very good. So we'll have 1 person testifying, and so we'll adjourn this. Madam Administrator will adjourn this meeting. Is that correct?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you
Thank you
very
all.
much.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Thank you.